team in the soccer capital, full of young talent and tomorrow's stars. Tonight, they kick off their inaugural season at Children's Mercy Park, a venue befitting such a historic occasion. To earn a spot on the first team, the hard work starts here. History is made in Kansas City. It's Portland Timbers 2 and Swope Park Rangers next. Good evening and welcome to Children's Mercy Park in beautiful Kansas City, Kansas, where there's a new ranger in town, the Swope Park Rangers, who are finally ready to become the newest member of Kansas City's formidable soccer community. I'm Carter Augustine, and joining me in the booth today is Jake Yodrich. We're excited to bring this inaugural game in club history for the Swope Park Rangers as they start the 2016 USL season. And for sporting fans and anyone else who may be new to the USL, just like the Swope Park Rangers are, a little bit of an overview. It's in its 6th season in the league, 30 games during the regular season, 29 teams operating in 19 different states and 3 Canadian provinces. And there are 11 of those teams that are actually owned and operated by MLS clubs. Of course, Sporting KC, a few connections to USL in the past, as Dom Dwyer won the championship with his time in Orlando City, and Jimmy Nielsen, legendary goalkeeper for Sporting, now being the manager at Oklahoma City Energy FC. And of course, there are 6 new teams this season, one of them being Swope Park Rangers. Jake.
And it's been a pretty interesting offseason in Kansas City in terms of soccer with the movement from Sporting Kansas City, but this has given fans something else to be looking forward to ever since the Swope Park Rangers were announced in October. Some great moves, including a hire from Mark Dos Santos, who has a proven track record as a coach in multiple leagues in North America. And the team has shown a lot of promise this preseason, leading many people to believe that there's some very high hopes for what the Rangers can do, despite this being their first season in USL.
So the first season for the Swope Park Rangers and their first test, the Portland Timbers 2, of course the B team for the defending MLS Cup champions. We'll go ahead and take a look now at those lineups for Portland Timbers 2, who are coached by Andrew Greger in his first season. And you'll notice maybe a few names that you might recognize from MLS action. Taylor Pay, the captain for the side tonight, and Nick Beasler in midfield for the Timbers 2. And now we'll take a look at the home lineups for Swope Park Rangers tonight in their first ever game. They're captained in the back by Christian Duke, longtime Sporting Academy member, becoming the first signing for the Rangers in the offseason. And Jake, I think a lot of fans will be looking forward to what that front three can do for the Rangers this season. Yeah,
Chris Tierpak, Jimmy Madronda, and Dane Kelly may be one of the more potent of forward lines that we'll see in USL in 2016, and it's highlighted by Dane Kelly. He is a proven goal scorer in this league. As a matter of fact, the league's all-time leading goal scorer, and it was quite the signing. I know a lot of people were a little bit surprised that the Rangers were able to bring him in, given the success that he had while playing for Charleston, but just one of the number of players that brings so much promise to this first season for the Rangers.
42 goals for Dane Kelly in all-time USL action. And we sat down with head coach Mark Dos Santos earlier this week to talk about why he came to join this new club.
When people ask me about, but you were coach of the year in NASL, great position. You had probably other offers. Why a B team? Why coming? It's because of the club. I'm not in soccer for ego. I'm not in soccer for, hey, this is my position. This is who I am. And I say, if I wanted to sit in a golden chair and relax and with 3-year contracts, I would have done it in other clubs. But I'm not a guy of ego. I'm in soccer, and I want to be in soccer in places that I enjoy, that my family is well. And the second thing, I want to be in places that I believe that the model and what has been built in the club relates to what I think soccer is or our club should be. So it was very easy to speak with Peter, very easy to speak with Kerry. Communication, it's like if we've known each other for 10 years now. So I think that's what makes things clear. So it was an easy decision when it came to that. We don't believe that you develop without installing a winning mentality. And we can promise that we're going to win every game, but what we promise is that every game the guys are going to go out to win the game. They're going to go out with the mentality to get a positive result, to get points, to make the playoffs. That I have no doubt in my head. So we don't want to hide behind we're just here to develop whatever the result. No, we're here to develop players, but develop players with a winning mentality. And that you could only do if you approach every game to organize the team the best way possible to win the games.
In their first season in USL this year, Jake Yadrich. And while the players have a lot to do on the field, maybe the best move was actually hiring this man.
A proven track record. We talked about it at the top of the live stream. This guy has an ideal that fits perfectly with Sporting Club and Peter Vermes, and it's totally going to be integrated from top to bottom. He understands what the organization wants to do and understands what it's going to take to win in the USL.
We'll take a look there at Andrew Greger, the Timbers 2 head coach, in his first season, and actually his first season as a coach. Mark Dos Santos entering his 10th season. And so a little difference there between a rookie head coach and maybe a more seasoned vet. And the game is underway. The first in the history of Swope Park Rangers here at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City, Kansas. Portland Timbers 2 will start with the ball going from left to right in their green top and white shorts. And immediately the ball launched up towards the forwards and over the heads of everyone as Tommy Meyer and co. let it drift all the way back to John Kempen. Swope Park Rangers starting the season off in their second kits actually with the orange tops and socks paired with the white trunks. And now Kevin Oliveira gets on the ball on the left wing, tries a pass inside for Dane Kelly. That's cut off, and Dane Kelly whistled for an early foul. Quick restart from Timbers 2 as they have a man down.
And it appears as though Michael Gallagher still down after that collision with Dane Kelly, holding his knee. Certainly something that the Timbers 2 and Andrew Greger don't want to see, not even a minute into the season. They don't even have a full roster yet, couldn't even fill the full 18 spots coming into today's game, and one player already down, clutching his leg. Not a good way to start.
Yeah, 2 unused subs on the bench for the Timbers 2 this evening. And you're exactly right, Jake. It was not what Coach Andrew Greger wanted to see within the first 2 minutes of the game. And now, of course, the Swope Park Rangers kick the ball out of bounds in a fair play spirit. We did see some of this with the Sporting Kansas City game.
Yeah, certainly a hot topic here this past weekend. Sporting Kansas City versus Toronto FC, a moment where the ball was not played out of bounds, and it continued at a little bit of a dust up on the field there.
This one a little more amicable. And Swope Park Rangers will get play restarted in their own half with Tommy Meyer now. Finds Jimmy Mulligan, the right back, pushed high up towards the half field line. Van Compernol. Try a ball over the top, looking for Dane Kelly, who is just about a half step shy there of latching onto that one.
Well, and that's one of the things that make Dane Kelly so dangerous, his breakaway speed. We've seen it in years past at Charleston. We saw it this preseason in the club's first ever goal in their first ever match. Elite level speed from Dane Kelly can make the difference at the game at any second.
Speaking of speed, Chris Tierpak with the takeaway and another one. Interception now, and we'll see if Sporting can get, Swope Park can get anything going, but Tomas Granito just letting that ball run out of play. And Portland can restart and move from left to right. Pay drops it back, and that's Nick Beasler, of course, brother of Sporting KC captain Matt, playing in the holding midfield role for Timbers 2 tonight. Now Gallagher not seeing too much pressure from his center half spot, and he puts that one out of play. Swope Park Rangers content to let the center backs on the ball in the early going, and now while Leffy trying to flick it on forward towards Dane Kelly, who gets the better of his man, charging into the box, and a great save. Wade Hamilton down to his right. First test of the game. And who is it? Of course, it's that man, Dane Kelly.
And the second time, Carter, in just under not even in the 5th minute of this matchup, Dane Kelly's speed coming into play as he just breezes right past Anthony Manning, almost gets that shot in the goalkeeper's right-hand side, but a good job of forcing that one out by Hamilton.
Now there's a corner on the near side with Jimmy Madronda, left-footed out swinger towards the 6. Dealt well initially by Timbers too, and now they have numbers going forward, a 4-on-3 possibility, but Kevin Oliveira does well to get in front, and actually a handball has been adjudged against the young midfielder for the Rangers, but I think manager Mark Dos Santos will take that, as it did break up a counterattacking opportunity.
Well, and that's one of the things that can be troubling when you use this high-pressure system that Sporting Kansas City and the Rangers do like to employ. You leave yourselves vulnerable to the counterattack. Everyone, you got bodies pushed forward. In that instance, on a set piece, leaves so much space out wide for the ball to just be redistributed, and you're on your heels very, very quickly. So a good job from Portland to recognize that, and I imagine that's going to be their game plan in this matchup.
And now the Timbers youngster Marco Farfan from Portland and the Timbers Academy getting a start at left back tonight. Try to make his way upfield, and no call there from the referee. Clean win by Kevin Oliveira, and he can try and charge forward into the attacking third now. But Nick Beasler does well to just stick his foot in at the last second and regain control for Timbers too. Anthony Manning, who was beaten by Dane Kelly just minutes ago, pass it up the left wing, and that ball stays inbounds. Right back Jimmy Mulligan. And the Timbers can try and build it out of the back again. Bernito applying pressure. Now away by Mulligan. And Jake, what is this first inaugural match? What do you think has to be going through the minds of players for a team playing in its first ever match?
Well, it's kind of an interesting, I guess, dichotomy when you look at the two teams. The Swope Park Rangers, despite this being their first game in the club's history, a lot of these players have been with the club for 6 to 8 weeks and have all been playing pretty much in the same positions and have known, for the most part, their spots as a starter for maybe the better part of a month now. So there's some solidifying that doesn't really need to happen as much as Portland per se. They're in their second year, but they've signed 8 players since March 18th. There's a lot of uncertainty as to who's going to play where, who are the backups, how will this team look in 2-3 months. So despite this being the Rangers' first ever game, I think there's more uncertainty on the Timbers 2 squad that is entering their second season. So you got two teams, no doubt, that are definitely going to have nerves on both sides. Don't get me wrong, but you just got interesting narratives for each team, despite one being in their first season.
As Tomas Granito plays that out of bounds, you're right, Jake. This Portland Timbers 2 team seeing a lot of turnover, around 80% of the squad or so from last season, where they finished 11-15-2 and missed out on the playoffs in their inaugural campaign. And now William Bijev trying to get the better of Jacob von Kompernol, who actually does well in the end to usher that out for a throw. Take a look at Andrew Greger again in his first season as a head coach. Madronda trying to win possession back for the Rangers. Down the line towards Oliveira. And it's out of bounds off Timbers 2. Captain Christian Duke throwing that one in. We have head tennis in midfield, and Nick Beazer has his pass intercepted by Chris Tierpak. Leffy being waved up by the referee. And now Tierpak will charge down the right wing. Tierpak twisting. Will drop it back. Now the Rangers will recycle. It's a lovely evening here in Kansas City, Kansas. Rainy morning, but gave way to a beautiful, chilly, and perfect night to play some soccer. And Comprano looking over the top. That's asking a lot of Chris Tierpak.
Well, and we talked about whether or not nerves would be there, and I think that's a good example that Sporting I did it again.
Yeah,
that the Rangers,
I've done it several times already. Won't be the last.
Are showing some composure. Chris Tierpak, 30 seconds ago, has that ball just outside the 18 of Portland's goal, surrounded by two men. He didn't try to force anything. Played it all. They cycled it all the way back to John Kempen and brought it all the way back to this near side. So far, nerves not getting the best of the Rangers.
That pass was hopeful and out of bounds, so the Rangers can start, and that's a tasty-looking pass from Kevin Oliveira, putting Tierpak in on goal. He'll fire, far post! Oh, and just wide. Another good opportunity for the Swope Park Rangers. This time, the midfield man, Kevin Oliveira, cutting it out.
And I know that there's a lot of excitement among the Swope Park Rangers staff when Oliveira agreed to come play for Swope, and you can see why. Beautifully weighted ball over the top into an on-rushing Chris Tierpak. And we talked about it at the top of the show, Carter. Dane Kelly, Chris Tierpak, Jimmy Madronda are going to be a handful for any team they go up against. And so far in 11 minutes, we've seen 3 chances from the forward line of Swope Park Rangers.
Tierpak with 11 goals last season, and he's a man who's scored a goal in just about every U.S. soccer competition there is. Maybe would have put your money on him putting that one away at the far post. And now here he is again on the ball. Nicely tackled away. But the rebound falls to Tierpak again. Manning intercepts briefly. Oliveira now charging in. He'll lay it off for Madronda, who has a go. And did the keeper get a touch there? No, says head ref John Freeman. But another testing effort, this time from the left winger, Jimmy Madronda.
Yeah, so all 3 of them have had their opportunities now. You see, great strike from Jimmy Madronda. He's been a reliable player for Sporting Kansas City and Peter Vermes when called upon. He has played outside back for Sporting Kansas City. He's played in the midfield. He's played in the forward line. But I think it's going to be good for him to just get those solid, consistent minutes as a winger with the Swope Park Rangers, because that is his best position, and it's only going to build his confidence going forward.
Rough challenge there between Bijev and Van Comprano, and Van Comprano called for the foul, and Portland will have a chance to perhaps loft one into the box here. Instead, they'll start it short. And now try and loft in. It's good pressure from Oliveira. And a nice little deft touch to set Jimmy Madronda away. Now he'll try and find Dane Kelly at the top of the box. Kelly cuts back to his left. Fires back across the face. And they're getting close.
And the fireworks continuing here at Children's Mercy Park, although none of these balls finding the back of the net. Dane Kelly taking his time to take that extra touch to set it up on his left foot. A smart move as the Timbers 2 defenders run past. Just too much bend on that ball. That's 3 chances so far for the Rangers that have been a foot or two wide or have been saved by the keeper. Right now, Timbers 2 on their heels at Children's Mercy Park.
It's a swerving effort from Dane Kelly, who completely fooled Wade Hamilton going back the opposite direction of where Hamilton was moving and just missing that far post. Throwing up the sideline, and Madronda retreating can intercept that. He plays it back out of bounds, and Captain Taylor Pay try and throw it in again for Timbers 2. Pay played in 14 games for Timbers 2 last season. does have some MLS experience, the right back for Timbers too, and that's a wayward pass. Dane Kelly with the back heel for Oliveira. Medranda now, and look at that crossfield diagonal. Chris Tierpak running onto it in the corner now. And Tierpak will with a low cross for Kelly again. This time it's at the near post. And a little tamer effort than we've seen, but Jake, they sure don't seem to be showing any nerves here.
Well, and
in
we've
the first
seen
game for Swope Park Rangers.
And it's been coming from a variety of different ways, but so far that's the second time we've seen Chris Tierpak take advantage of tons of space in that long diagonal ball. This time it's the cross into Dane Kelly, just not enough to get behind that and redirect it. A good save from Wade Hamilton, but so far it's nothing but the Swope Park Rangers in the first third of this matchup.
15 minutes in. Rangers out shooting the Timbers 5-0. Now Van Compernol. Good work from Duke to keep that in play, and Oliveira trying to move forward is fouled. Like Andre Lewis, the guilty party there in midfield. He's yelling at some teammates who perhaps didn't help him out.
As you see, look there, a definite foul from Andre Lewis. I don't know what he could be complaining about.
Now Medranda lofting it into the 6, and Dane Kelly again. This time he heads just over the crossbar. Another attempt here in the early goings. Some high pressure attack from Swope Park Rangers.
And so far we have 4 shots from Dane Kelly, and he's showing it from an array of skills, of showing the wide skill set that he has. We've seen him use both feet. We've seen him shoot from distance there. We see the header. So you see the potential of what could be with this Swope Park Rangers side. Unfortunately, the ball's still not in the back of the net, and this game stays 0-0.
That's a good play by Dom Rowie to try and send Timbers forward. Intercepted by Duke. And now Pay. He'll float across towards the top of the box. Dealt with initially and then cleared by Tomas Granito. Well, Beasler will hawk a loogie into the ground, kind of disgusted with his back pass there, but Timbers too can again build from the back here. Andre Lewis actually moved across the Cascadia region from the Whitecaps to the Timbers too in the offseason.
And this is what the Timbers need to do. They just need to maintain the possession. The momentum is clearly swung in the favor of the Rangers here after 15 minutes. They just need to hold on to the ball. There they try to force it, and now it's a quick turnover, and the Rangers have it right back. The Timbers got to calm down and just try to keep this ball a little bit to try to build some confidence in this first half.
This has been their best sustained bit of possession. And as I say that, a wayward pass from Lewis, but Bijev can get onto it, and he'll flick it wide with Ben Polk. Polk now dropping it back into the midfield. Farfan, he's deflected out of bounds. Tierpak applying pressure. There's an attempt at a raking diagonal and just a miscommunication there as Nico Brett thought Pay would be overlapping and tried to flick it into the space that Pay was not actually going to.
Well, and a little bit of this wayward start from the Timbers can be a little understood with all the new players.
As Bijev does well to get the best of Van Compernol. He'll drop it off for Brett, and his pass, his cross attempt is deflected, blocked out of bounds by Christian Duke, and that'll lead to the Timbers' first corner of the game.
And as I was saying before that cross was taken off, you can understand a little bit of the kind of the nervousness or the unfamiliarity of the Timbers. These guys haven't been playing with each other very long at all. You have 3 guys in the starting 11 that signed with the club 8 days ago. So there's going to be some patches in the road that are a little bumpy, and you can understand why maybe the fluidity isn't there. But this is a perfect opportunity on a set piece to get right in this matchup.
And Dom Rowie will deliver. It falls all the way back to the edge of the box. And Nick Beasler on his brother's turf here trying to hammer one in from the edge of the box.
Well, the one thing to
Just
keep
wide.
an eye out of, at least on that corner kick, Anthony Manning, center back for Timbers 2, was up in there very, very high, was able to get over almost everybody. The ball too high, but that's something to keep an eye out in this matchup.
Christian Duke there, the captain. You could hear him barking out the orders, trying to set up the defense on that corner kick. Mark Dos Santos earlier in the week said they have a problem with Christian Duke and that he trains too hard. And they're trying to get him to cut back. And
I don't know why
train
that's
at
a problem,
80%
Coach.
Or 90%. But he's
I had the exact opposite problem when I played. It's like the old 30 for 30 from Bo Jackson. Like, man, I don't got time for practice. Just tell me when the game is. I'll show up.
Dos Santos worried about Duke perhaps expanding his energy before the game. But he is the noted beep test champion.
Oh,
in
man,
the sporting organization.
there you
so
go,
you know
man.
he can run for days.
That says so much about a person.
Now, hopeful ball over the top.
One thing all my years in this game have taught me is you may be the worst technical player of all time, but I tell you what, man, if you can score high on that beep test, man, you're going to get a shot. Everyone loves the beep tests.
Well, as they say, you need some piano players in the team, but you need some piano carriers as well. 21 minutes gone now, and Van Compernol will play it into the left wing with Jimmy Madronda. Cutting in from left to right all the way across the field now. And he'll slide it over to Mulligan. Mulligan with the cross towards Tierpak. Manning gets it away, but not dealt with completely. And now Walefi trying to get onto it. Good work from Nico Brett to just get a toe in and stop the immediate chance. But Swope Park Rangers able to keep the ball in the attacking half and restart the pressure.
And we're seeing a lot of what the Sporting Kansas City coaching staff saw in Jimmy Madronda when they signed him a number of years ago as just, a 19-year-old kid out of Columbia. He has great technical ability, great with the ball at his feet. But I love the loan for him to the Rangers because not only is he going to get quality minutes, but he's going to be relied upon to be one of the main offensive forces for this team, the creator, the distributor. I think he's a little passive in the past when he has played for Sporting Kansas City because he doesn't want to be the guy that messes up. He only gets limited minutes and he wants to make sure that he plays solid in there. I think when he's with the Rangers, he's going to play with some swagger and flair and creativity and be one of the leaders on this offense.
Here he is on the ball. A nice take off the chest, but his pass a little too light in the direction of Oliveira, and it's intercepted well by the Timbers defense. And Jake, you're talking about Jimmy Madronda, and you have to know that the coaches rate him. He's appeared in 2 games already for Sporting Kansas City this season.
Yeah, and as we touched on earlier, his versatility. He's played in all 3 lines of this 4-3-3. Not many people can say they can do that in a system oversaw by Peter Vermees. It's a very demanding coach and demands a lot from players at every single position. So the versatility is there, but like I said, he's an attacker. Get the ball at his feet, and this is where he's going to be the best for the Rangers.
And Compernol lifting it over the top, and Chris Tierpak getting his head to it. You see he wears that protective gear on his head. I got to tell you, Jake, in watching the guy, he has to be one of the players that uses his head the most.
and I remember the Swope Park Rangers general manager a couple of months ago telling me that they were getting close to signing Chris Tierpak, and I absolutely loved that decision because I think he kind of got the wrong end of the stick.
The Chivas USA
by being
stick,
drafted from Chivas USA. I mean, when players in Major League Soccer were playing at Chivas USA, they were pretty much forgotten or not even noticed. And he showed some flashes. Now, was he a standout player in Major League Soccer? No, we're not going to go that far. But you saw enough in college and you saw enough in his brief stints in Major League Soccer to let you believe that he could be a very, very good player. And he showed it last year in his time with the Aztecs by having double-digit goals that he can get it done. And now he's the guy that's coming across. Now with this first game with the Swope Park Rangers, we're seeing a lot of that flash that we're talking about when that time he was with Chivas USA.
There's a good bit of a passing move by Timbers too, and just that final ball lacking the cutting edge, and the Rangers can try and clear up towards Dane Kelly. Falls for Walefi. Good first time pass for Madronda, and he'll try another big raking diagonal. This one though behind the run of Tierpak, who gives a thumbs up for the idea. Still 0-0 here at Children's Mercy Park. Now a little bit of space here in midfield for Lewis. Played over to Brett. And a mishit clearance there by Van Compernol, and that'll allow the Timbers to bring the bodies forward for another corner. And Jake, you mentioned that these set pieces could be a tough deal for the Rangers as you look at the roster, and Tommy Meyer, the only other player besides the goalie over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, Anthony Manning, 6'4" center back on that first corner kick, was easily up and over everyone else inside that 18-yard box. So something to keep an eye out in this second corner kick.
That delivery towards the near post and doesn't beat the first man. Damrali will be disappointed in himself. It was good defensive work by Chris Tierpak. And now Beasler playing it down the left channel. And high-stepping his way there was Nico Brett, and he keeps the ball in play. And can he find a pass? Just about. If it wasn't for the on-rushing Jacob Van Compernol. A really important interception there, as there were two Timbers players lurking near the penalty spot.
Man, Nico Brett looking like Deion Sanders chasing down that ball.
Nico
Brett just became one of my favorite players in USL just with chasing down that ball. But you mentioned it, Carter. Two players left in the 18 for Timbers 2. That would have been another opportunity for them to really get back in this matchup and actually take a hold of it here in the 26th minute. The only time really throughout the run of play that the Swope Park Rangers defense has even been tested, and now you saw there were some pockets of space. Those have to be addressed here in the remainder of this first half.
And we saw the Rangers build some early pressure, and they are out shooting Timbers 2 6-1. Here's a nice ball over the top, but Tierpak just can't quite bring it under his control. And Jake, is that perhaps worrying that the Timbers were able to withstand that early pressure without conceding?
Well, and we talked about it, Carter, maybe like the 15th minute or so. They just needed to hold the ball and just needed to calm down. And the pace has really died down in this matchup because Portland's doing a good job of keeping it away from the Swope Park Rangers. You see, you don't have to force anything in this game. So far it seems that you're maybe outmanned in terms of talent on the field versus the Swope Park Rangers. So you just got to take them out of the game. And you control the ball, you're always going to have, a better opportunity, to leave your mark on this game.
Mulligan with a nice little pass to find Walefi in midfield. He'll play it wide with Van Compernol. That pass cut out and just unable to keep it under his control. Andre Lewis, if he had, Timbers 2 may have been streaking down the other way. Van Compernol lofting it up towards Dane Kelly again. Paid as well to knock it up to himself and clear it on the volley. It's good tracking back from Dane Kelly there. A fight in midfield for possession. It's Andre Lewis who comes away. Game getting a little more settled now perhaps for the Timbers, as they were able to avoid picking the ball out of their net. The early charge in this inaugural match for the Swope Park Rangers. Here's another wayward pass from Michael Gallagher just along this near touchline.
That's also the third time in this first half that Gallagher has done that, has tried to find either Ben Polk or Nico Brett on this right wing, and the pass really hasn't been close. 4 or 5 feet to the side, just shooting it out of bounds. Those are those easy turnovers that we're talking about, Carter, that the Timbers just can't have so far in this first half.
Oliveira trying to get on the ball here. He'll try and breeze past down Rowie and is tripped. And the Rangers have a free kick, about 35 yards or so away from goal. Dom Rowie adjudged to have fouled there. The Sideshow Bob haircut, as we were talking about in pregame.
Well, and you see him coming in here, you know, the tug and then the trip at the end. About as easy as a call as a referee's ever really going to have to make.
It's an easy call there. And Dom Rowie, actually a decorated Belgian youth international. He played for Club Bruges, and now Oliveira will float it into the back post. Compernal playing it back across the face. Cleared away momentarily. But now Jimmy Madronda on the near touchline. It's a tasty looking ball towards the far post. Keeper comes for it. Maybe just got a fist to it. And now Oliveira just running ahead of the ball, but good strength. And he earns his team a foul. It's good work from Kevin Oliveira.
And once again, the pressure from the Swope Park Rangers getting numbers forward, causing some miscommunication. Jimmy Madronda with a great ball in here. You see Dane Kelly and Tommy Meyer both up there trying to win that ball. Good punch, but Sporting Kansas City able to recover quickly and earn another set piece, this time just outside the 18. Jimmy Madronda, I know it's a tough angle here, but watch out for that far post. He's got the ability to bend it around and bring it down, maybe possibly inside netting.
Madronda standing over it, left-footed towards that far post, and it requires a touch from the keeper. Wade Hamilton again getting his fist to it. This time it'll go out for a corner, but Jake Yodrich, you called it.
That's just me having watched Jimmy Madronda in Sporting Kansas City training now for the last 3+ seasons. He has this ability. As you see, he does well enough to get a nice amount of curve on it, but credit to Wade Hamilton, he recognized it immediately.
And now the outswinger from Madronda, while Leffy tries to take it down on the edge of the box. Cleared away by Portland. And again, Swope Park Rangers will have some sort of dead ball situation to try and build the pressure as we move past the half-hour mark. It's Mulligan now. He throws it in and gets it immediately back. Granito floating it towards the back post. Madronda waiting there, but headed away by Manning. Now Oliveira tries to go between the legs. Pay does well. Look at that bit of skill from Jimmy Madronda. Does he keep it in? No. As you can hear the howls of disagreement from the crowd, or maybe they just were hopeful howls. We'll be able to take a look here and see, did that ball go out of play? Of course, the whole ball.
Tough to say from that angle, but Jimmy Madronda has it back and is still doing some more dancing there on the sidelines. Not able to keep this one in either. But still, the Timbers too. Sorry, Carter. Timbers too still pinned back deep in their own territory.
Referee John Freeman there, telling the Timbers defender to take the throw back where it went out of bounds. Bit of a dangerous pass there back to Mulligan, and Tierpak flicks it on into nowhere, and that will relieve the pressure. Now Timbers 2 can finally get out of their own end. Nike is a proud partner of the USL. Follow at Nike Soccer on Twitter for all the latest Nike Soccer information. Here are the Timbers, building a little bit out of the back, but immediately giving the ball away when they try to go forward. That's a clever bit of skill from Dom Rowie. Beasler slides it out left. Now back on the ball. They'll retreat to the center half, Manning. Here's Gallagher. It's Ben Polk coming to get a touch on the ball. Haven't heard his name a whole lot. Timbers just working it across the back line here, trying to find some sort of opening. A well-organized Rangers defense.
Yeah, really just no movement in the middle for Timbers too.
As John Kemp alert to that crossfield pass, and he'll try and start a counter as Christian Duke has plenty of space to run into all the way past the halfway line. Geronda getting his head up. We've seen him try that big diagonal a few times already in this game. Oliveira now on the ball. Back with Duke, and full-blooded challenge there. Referee says it was fair. And now a pullback as the referee tried to allow the play to continue. It'll be a free kick for the Timbers, and we'll take a look here at that full-blooded challenge from...
Yeah, you can definitely see why Christian Duke is upset there. The ball is gone. The player is late. I think you could definitely make the case for a foul, possibly even a caution in that situation. But referee says no, decides to let the play continue, and now the Timbers, too, earn their own foul and now have possession of the ball.
Looked like Taylor Pay, the captain, with that challenge, perhaps trying to spark his team with a bit of physicality and aggression. 35th minute here, and still scoreless in the first ever match for the Swope Park Rangers. There's Tommy Meyer on the ball. Haven't called his name a whole bunch so far this game, but certainly plenty of MLS pedigree with Tommy Meyer, the St. Louis native who has 2 MLS Cups to his name. A little bit of a miscommunication there. Duke and Van Compernol trying to sort it out between them. Possession gifted to the away side.
Well, we mentioned Portland doing a better job in possession. As soon as we, never mind, I'll just throw that little
nugget
out.
We've cursed them a few times tonight, I think.
I was actually going to talk about how it's been getting better, and then they just shoot it right out of bounds.
Long throw up towards Kelly, and Tierpak tries to keep it in, but a little bit of a double tip there. Goes back off the orange socks of Chris Tierpak and out for a Timbers 2 throw-in. Headed out of bounds, and they'll try it again. And it's been a mixed bag, Jake, for MLS-owned USL teams in their first ever matches, as that trend has been moving upward in the number of MLS teams trying to found their own affiliate. 3, 2, and 3 are MLS-owned USL teams in their first ever matches, so tough to tell if there's any sort of pattern there. Sport. And the Timbers have a throw in along the far side, out of bounds, and actually a foul called for a high boot there. Nick Beasler, the guilty party. And Jake Mark Dos Santos in the week talked about, in comparison to all the other USL sides who have their own teams and control their own rosters, thinks it's a bit of a disadvantage to be an MLSB side and sometimes maybe have to listen to the whims and the wills of your parent club.
Well, but that's part of the gig. I mean, the coaching staff may see it as a disadvantage, but it's also the parent club that has got them that coaching job. I'm not saying that as a slight to Mark Dos Santos by any means, because I think he's a fantastic coach, and I have enjoyed and loved every conversation that I've had with him in terms of his philosophy about this team and about this club. And I can understand that it could be viewed as a disadvantage for him, as we see our first card of the match being pulled out now.
And that will go to Viljan Bijev, as Oliveira just tricking him with his turn of pace.
Would you say that was a villainous challenge?
I would enjoyingly say that was
villainous.
A villainous challenge.
Villainous challenge.
Points to Jake Yadrich there. And we'll see if either Oliveira or Granito, and Oliveira trying to catch the defense off guard. Referee saying to wait for his whistle. So we'll re-rack this set piece, and it'll be Oliveira paired with Granito. Another good opportunity here with just 7 minutes or so to go. Lays it off for Granito, who has a hit. Plenty of sting behind that one, but always rising over Wade Hamilton's goal.
And really, one of the few times in this first half that we've called Granito's name. You see him do a great job of getting a lot of pace behind this shot. Unfortunately, I think that's maybe too speculative to be taking a shot from that sort of distance from a set piece where the goalie, has a clear vision and his feet set. And as soon as that ball is touched over, you tip your hand when you take that sort of, those few steps up to the ball. He knows you're going to shoot it. He knows what to be on the lookout for, and it's going to have to be something amazing to get past Hamilton in that regard.
Good entry pass there from Farfan, and that's a nice little turn from Lewis. And the referee will blow back for the hold as he tried to let play continue, but there was no advantage, so free kick to the Timbers. Now Pay from his right back position, lofting it up towards nobody in particular, and Myers able to head clear. That's a tough one to judge, but Duke does well in the end, battling the much taller Damraoui. Oliveira taking one off the face there, and the referee will stop play. Well, we mentioned it is a bit of a chilly night, Jake. Not too chilly though, just under 60 degrees. But I don't care how cold it is, when you take a ball off the face like that, it's gonna hurt.
Just spray some water on it.
Spray some water on it.
It seems to always make it
They
better.
got that magical water,
Well, the spray I think is more for muscle injuries.
Sure.
I think deep bone bruises. I think it is. What's the word I'm looking for? Status quo. Just to spray some water on it.
Okay.
Or depending upon the severity of it, just pour some Robitussin on it, and that'll just cure it right up.
Jake Yadrich with all the medical tricks of the trade here.
Well, I did steal that one from Chris Rock. I can't claim that joke. But this is the part that I was alluding to before the last turnover from the Timbers too. They've gotten some composure now, and they're doing a good job of possessing the ball, and they keep circulating it around the back line, but there's just very little movement in the middle of the park. So it's just going from outside back to center back, and eventually that pressure catches up to them, and it leads to yet another turnover for the Timbers too. Andre Lewis and Dylan Damraoui need to do a much better job in the middle of the park, showing to the ball to create some passing lanes for the rest of the guys on the offensive side.
Dane Kelly trying to take that one off the chest, but is marshaled well by Anthony Manning. And we were talking, Jake, about perhaps these B teams having a disadvantage, but Marc Dos Santos was not using that as an excuse at all. And you could tell by the preseason form of this team that he expects this team to be competitive. And what he said was one of the main reasons he saw in that preseason was the organization and the discipline of his two defensive lines in not allowing these entry passes.
Well, and Dos Santos is instilling a winning mentality. That's his primary objective as the coach in this first year of the Swope Park Rangers. They're going to go out there and they're going to try and win every single game, and they're not going to change their identity or change their style from a game-by-game basis. They know what they're good at, and they're going to continue to do that, and they're going to continue to do that until they get victories and get results.
It's a good pass from Granito on the half volley to find Madronda. He floats it into the far post. Tierpak challenging. Good work from the 5'9" Farfan to get ahead to it, but now Mulligan does well. He can lift across towards the 6. Half cleared. It falls to Oliveira. Can't quite get possession. Now the cutback. A bit risky there from Nico Brett. He gets away with it. Now back on the ball. Now Lewis will just calm things down for the Timbers in the back as we approach halftime with no score still on the scoreboard. Here's Granito again trying to find that big diagonal. It's a little too heavy for Christian Duke charging up the left wing. Duke retreating there, and it'll be offside against Bijev. But But the referee waved play on and no foul there. Hearing from the sideline that there will be 1 minute of stoppage time here in the first half. It's a good flick from Duke. Madronda trying to go between the legs is unable to keep possession. His pressure, however, leads to a miscontrol by Taylor Pay. Now Oliveira trying to shrug off a few challenges. Nice little passing triangle there in the near corner. And that frees up Walefi, who floats one in towards Tierpak, and Tierpak just can't quite bring that under his control. Look at that touch and control from Portland Timbers. And that's Ben Polk charging forward. Lays it off for Brett. Brett now charging in the box, trying to cut back, and Christian Duke not allowing any sort of cutback there. Oliveira rides the challenge impressively in midfield. He'll slow it down a little bit. That just allows the Timbers 2 defense to catch up to the play and track back and get in position. As we move in the final minute of regulation towards stoppage time here. Reminder, just the 1 minute. And it's Tommy Meyer charging forward, trying to grab something here before the teams go on at the half. Mulligan, ball stuck to his feet. His cross is blocked initially. Gives it back to Oliveira, and it's ushered out of bounds by Ben Polk. Walefi now on the ball. Nice little slip pass inside from Madronda, outside of the boot, trying to find Tierpak around the corner, and perhaps a bit too cutesy there from the Colombian. They'll go out of bounds for a goal kick.
Take a look back here at this 1v1 situation between Brett and Christian Duke. Very good job sizing him up, not committing, not making any rash challenges there inside the 18. Make Brett make the move, and he makes the wrong one. Christian Duke just sticks that foot in there and takes it away. Great play from the captain.
It's a bit of leadership by demonstration from the Swope Park Rangers captain. And you hear the whistle there as John Freeman blows for halftime. And an exciting start for the Swope Park Rangers, but still no score here from Children's Mercy Park. It's halftime. Swope Park Rangers 0, Portland Timbers 2-0.
It's an exciting role that I've been given, and I look to help out the younger guys, kind of learn the ropes. I've been here before, and I know what the organization's all about, and learning from the first team and what Matt Beasley brings to that team. I hope to do the same with these guys on the Rangers. I mean, we talked in Arizona a little bit, and kind of just told me to make sure that everybody's on the same page, and it's kind of a leader by committee type thing where everybody's involved. It's a lot of excitement and hype for this game here at the stadium, and kind of have to calm everybody down and make sure that we're just going to go out and play our game. He's helped us out quite a bit, myself and some of the older veterans on the team, and kind of said, hey, this is what we want to look for.
Sporting Kansas City beat Toronto 3-1 last year up north of the border. And from the sound of it, Toronto FC players and coaches still remember that one. And one of the only teams that was ever really able to completely contain Javinko in a match last year, and they want to come here to Kansas City and prove that it can't happen again.
Thank you. Thank you for what you all do. I appreciate it.
Can't get my shoes on. Just trying to get a good shot. Like if you put my cleats on, they don't even fit. I'm trying to put this on for 5 minutes. Whew. Let's see how everyone reacts to it.
Oh, yeah. Open up your hips. Here we go. Inside.
He stands up and looks frustrated as Sporting Kansas City come the other way. Now a shot right into the arms of Tim Melia.
Endo making the run to great ball for Tsubasa Endo. It's saved off the bar. Tim Melia got a hand of that.
A lot of action hopefully still to come as the sun is setting here in the Midwest. We will see Brad Davis making his way out onto the field for Sporting Kansas City. Will Brad Davis be able to give this side something they didn't have in the first half?
There by Williams. Dwyer hit too far for Davis. Davis wins it cleanly on Morrow. No foul. Brad Davis looking for space and he scores! Brad Davis, first goal for Sporting KC after years of scoring against them, puts them in front against Toronto.
There's the magic moment. Brad Davis, welcome to Kansas City. Espinoza is going to get a red card here, as now Sporting Kansas City, for the first time this year, are down a man. The Toronto FC now pushing numbers forward to try to get that equalizer.
Jaco shot through traffic. Melia was tracking that knuckling ball.
Sending it far post again. Javinko trying to get there. Throws his body at it, but it's too far.
Javinko blocked by the wall. Yes, it's March. Yes, it's early, but you think these games don't matter. The emotion we've seen from the coaches and the reaction from the fans as the whistle goes, and Sporting KC have won.
Hey, make sure we thank the fans, huh? Thank the fans together.
I want to tell you that we need your support on March 26th to beat Portland too, and you guys are going to be very important there.
It's halftime here at Children's Mercy Park. Score between the Swope Park Rangers Portland Timbers 2, still 0-0. But not for a lack of trying from the Swope Park Rangers in this, their inaugural match. So we'll take a look now at the first half highlights. First, it was a ball over the top as Dane Kelly charging in, got a nice save from Wade Hamilton. And Jake, a nice little crossfield raking pass, and Chris Tierpak really perhaps would like to do him done better there. Jimmy Madronda getting in on the action, and Dane Kelly was an active man in that first 45 minutes, especially in the first 20 or so. Perhaps one of the better chances as Jimmy Madronda testing Wade Hamilton directly from the free kick, and then Tomas Granito's attempt going just over. And the halftime score is still 0-0. Stay with us as we'll be back in just a bit to bring you the second half action.
You might have covered this before, but being a dad, how does that change you as a pro, if at all?
No, it definitely does. I think that was a huge aspect of, the last 2 years of my career. I think I've been more consistent, and I think I owe that a lot to, my growing family and obviously Sophia, my daughter. I think it just makes you kind of, think about it a little bit more, think about who you're playing for, and it's not just yourself and trying to, get the glory and the fame and whatever else. You're playing to feed your family, to provide, and it's a more selfless act, I feel like, and so it's, I think, improved me as a professional.
You've said that last year was the best year of your professional career. You just covered one of the reasons why. You've talked in the past about the fitness aspect being another reason why. Are those the two biggest things? Is there anything else that you can think of that this is why this was the best year of my career?
Obviously, confidence is always something that I think is really, really important when you're playing well. I think luckily for me, I'm a guy that usually doesn't lose my confidence overnight. So, that's helped me along the way. But at the same time, when you're playing well, you have so much more confidence than when you're just, playing at your average or whatever. And last year just was one of those years where everything seemed to go well for me, and so my confidence was there. I think the way we played, the style of play that we had last year, which was, really trying to turn the other team over, and we had guys in certain positions that were fantastic at that. Sony last year, I kept talking about him last year plenty, and he deserved all the the credit that he got, and maybe even more so. But from my perspective, him and Roger especially were guys that I counted on every single game to win balls in the middle and then find me in really good positions going forward. And so it's something that kind of it has to click in the right ways for you to have the kind of season that I had last year. But I think it's like you said, there's a lot of different reasons, and it wasn't just one thing that I can pick out. But there's a lot of factors that help me.
I got to be honest, when you tell me confidence is a factor, that surprises me, because you've never come across as a guy who lacked confidence in any way.
Well, you were here for last year. So
well, yeah, but I've watched you play for a while,
No, I mean, like I said, I've always been a confident player, but there's times where you're not playing as well, and maybe it doesn't show as much from with me as it does maybe other guys. But there's no doubt about it that if I'm not playing well, my confidence isn't as high as it was for the majority of last year. And so last year I felt comfortable enough trying new things, things that I might not necessarily try all the time. I scored a left-footed goal that you made fun of me for a few times. So yeah, there's just things that when you're confident, you're just trying things. You're out there having fun, and for myself, I think when I'm having fun out there is when I'm at my best. So that definitely played a part.
For the record, I just couldn't believe that at that point in your career you had never scored a goal with your left foot.
Professionally, I had never scored a goal with my left foot. I don't think I must have taken probably like less than 10 shots before last year with my left foot, and then Peter chirping in my ear every practice, shoot with your left. So I had to get one in there for all the training that I've done in the last few years with my left foot.
So you mentioned Peter chirping in your ear.
How would you describe your relationship? It seems to me that the two of you there's a lot of chirping. How would you describe the relationship?
I think it's a good relationship. I mean, I like it. He's a tough coach to play for, and I'm a player that I think is maybe tough to coach. I'm a tough player to coach, and he's a tough coach to please, I guess. And so we always have our discussions and arguments, and I think we both respect each other's opinions. And I think from my perspective, I know that I need a kick in the butt every once in a while, and so he's a guy that's always there to give it to you. And he's helped me kind of get that consistency, which is really the biggest thing in my mind before I came to Kansas City that lacked in my game, and that was playing well, game in, game out, and not taking breaks in between games. And I think that there's no doubt about it that I've improved that, and there's still plenty of room for more improvement, but it's something that I feel very comfortable saying that has been the biggest piece of my game that lacked, that now is not lacking as much.
Welcome back as we are preparing to start the second half here at Children's Mercy Park. Still scoreless between Swope Park Rangers and Portland Timbers 2 in this, the first ever match for the new USL team in Kansas City. And I'm Carter Augustine here alongside Jake Yadrich, and as we see some of the halftime warm-ups going on, Jake, what'd you make of that first half from the Rangers?
Well, I think if the game would have continued the way it was in the first 10 minutes or so, you would say it's all the Rangers at this point. In all honesty, should it maybe be 2-3-0 at half, given the opportunities that the Rangers were able to create. But give credit to the Portland Timbers 2 as well for weathering that initial storm. Yes, they gave up some quality chances. They had some pretty bad turnovers, and they looked very, very shaky in the early on. But they rebounded nicely in terms of gaining possession, regaining some composure to kind of slow this game down, because the first 10 minutes clearly showed if they try to get into a race up and down sort of game with the Swope Park Rangers, they're going to lose. So credit Timbers 2 for adapting to the game and slowing it down and really just playing keep away when they could from the Rangers.
Take a look here at some of the first half stats as the Rangers outshot Portland 9-1, including 4 on goal for Swope Park and 0 on goal for Portland. The one shot coming from Nick Beasler after a corner kick. Portland with 6 fouls in that first half. Swope Park Rangers with 5. And now the Rangers will start with the ball as we get the second half underway here from Children's Mercy Park. They swap sides. So the Rangers will attack the south end. And a bit of a mishit pass from Oliveira, but he can get back on the ball and try and switch play towards Tierpak. Tierpak gets up well. Put his header straight to the feet of Wade Hamilton. 3rd round pick this season out of Cal Polytech University.
One of the better universities out there. I have no.
So they say.
Made that up. I have no idea.
This ball asking a lot from the left back, but he does well. Does Farfan. Trying to face up on Tommy Meyer, and he'll drop it back for Ben Polk. Ball's taken away from him, and Granito now trying it over the top, and Kelly just trying to time his run. An offside flag raised.
And just barely missing that one as well. Kelly even checked his run before the pass was made because he looked like he thought he was going to be offside, but didn't check it long enough and wasn't offside by much. It happened to be just probably in line from our vantage point here, Carter. Maybe a foot if that. So got to watch out for that if you're the Timbers too. The first time they really got into the attacking third and left themselves vulnerable to the counter.
Mraoui takes it off the shoulder but is unable to control, and now Mulligan, a clever pass along the sideline, and Tierpak can try and run at 2 defenders. Perhaps a handball, but it's in the box now for Oliveira. Fires it straight at Wade Hamilton. Did well to deflect it in front of him and pounce on it.
Well, it certainly appeared to be a handball, but in this case, I think it helped out the Swope Park Rangers. Yeah, you see it definitely slows down the ball and directs it right into the path of Oliveira, who's able to take a shot.
And that's a wayward pass, and Madrana can streak forward now, trying to find Kelly, who streaks into the box, and there's contact, and the penalty is given. It was a slack pass towards the right of the Timbers 2 defense. Madrana intercepts, and charging it towards goal, laid the ball into the path of Dane Kelly, and the Jamaican was able to get a touch to it, play it into the box, and he is fouled. And the Swope Park Rangers will have a chance to take the lead here.
Another poor pass. We mentioned, Carter, it was only going to be a matter of time before it come back to hurt him. Leads to the breakaway and an easy penalty call. Anthony Manning, very late, just takes out Dane Kelly. And now the Swope Park Rangers have a chance to finally put one in the net.
It's Kevin Oliveira with the chance to write his name in Swope Park Rangers history. And he does with a fantastic penalty. Keeper dove the right way, but was unable to keep that out. And the Swope Park Rangers have scored their first ever goal to take the lead 1-0.
And I think it's rewarding for the Rangers. They did a very good job building up to this moment of creating great opportunities, just not able to put them away, have clearly been the better team. Sure, they would like to have scored in the run of play, but sometimes they'll take them when you can get them. And just a great penalty from Oliveira. You mentioned it, Carter. Great job from Wade Hamilton, guessing the right way. Gets a really good jump, but Oliveira just puts it too far into the side netting, and there's nothing Hamilton can do about it. The Rangers finally on the board here at Children's Mercy.
See the confetti go up at Children's Mercy Park. What a fantastic moment for Kevin Oliveira, the 19-year-old, writing his name in the books as the first ever goal scorer for the Swope Park Rangers. And Jake Yodrich, we talked about at halftime about the number of slack passes out of the back of the Portland Timbers 2 team. And it was another one this time that gifted the possession to the Rangers and wound up with this man, Oliveira, taking the lead with a nice penalty.
Yeah, and it was that speed of Dane Kelly once again, just going right past the defenders. We saw it on 2 instances that led to opportunities in the first half from Dane Kelly. And in that time, he just goes straight by both of them, earning the penalty. So that's something you just can't plan for.
2 in the wall, and that's a tasty delivery up towards Kempen. Did he keep it out? Yes, he did. Momentarily, and another save. What a fantastic bit of work from John Kempen to keep this game 1-0 to the boys in orange.
And what a stop from John Kempen. Makes the initial save, and it gets underneath him, and then has enough reflexes to turn around and just bat it away from the line. Phenomenal double stop from the young Sporting KC keeper.
John Kempen, Leawood, Kansas native, and of course, first ever homegrown signing for Sporting Kansas City. And did he just keep that ball out, Jake?
John Kempen doesn't even have time to celebrate. He had to make 2 saves, get up, make another save, but just a tremendous effort. And we'd already talked in the first half about how maybe this loan could impact Jimmy Madronda and just getting him continuous minutes to get better. I think we could say the same thing for John Kempen. He has been on loan to other USL clubs the past couple of years, but due to the injury issues of Sporting Kansas City and letting go Luis Marin last year, he's had to come back up to the senior squad and has been a backup a vast majority of these past 2 seasons. And has played some games, and he's done great. He had a great penalty save in Vancouver 2 years ago, one of the better saves of the season last year on Clint Dempsey versus the Sounders here late in the season. But just again, him, continual minutes, week in and week out, getting 90 is only going to make him a better player going forward.
Some valuable playing time for John Kempen, and he proves to be every bit as valuable between the sticks for the Rangers. And Jake, how hard is it for a keeper? We'll get back to that as the ball is flicked up, and now charging forward with it are the Timbers. A bad back pass, though, and it falls in the box. Looking for contact was Nico Brett. Referee waves play on. Perhaps a penalty shout there for the visitors.
Yeah, Brett looked to be trying maybe a little too hard. Didn't look like there was much in that challenge, sending him to the ground. It was more of a bad touch, really, and I think he tried to make up for it to try to get that penalty as we take a look at it here. Good job, though, in this past, in terms of a response to the goal by Timbers 2. You see, well, looks like there was a shade of contact there. I don't know if it was Duke maybe sticking the leg out or Brett kind of following through and then tripping in that regard. There was definitely contact, but the referee saying not worthy of a penalty. But as I was saying, a great response. This is, in the past minute or so, the more aggressive and maybe creative that we've seen Portland throughout tonight's matchup, when really they didn't have any sort of identity in the first 50 minutes or so.
John Kempen slides out to claim that one. And along the lines of your point, Jake, I was just getting to the fact that John Kempen really didn't do anything in that first half of play, and he has to come up big from a set piece to deny the Timbers after really being a spectator for the majority of the match. And you're right, it has been a fantastic response by the visitors.
And that's one of the kind of the go-to things of not just the Swope Park Rangers, but from Sporting Kansas City as well, is the defensive shape and the defensive mentality of both teams has been so good over these past couple seasons that sometimes the goalies aren't really asked to do a whole lot through given times because of the amount of possession and the limits, the shot limiting that they do. So when they do have to come up, they have to come up big, and so far they have.
We'll take a look at the replay here of Kevin Oliveira getting the first yellow card in the history of the Swope Park Rangers. So he gets the first goal and then follows it up the first yellow card as well. And Jake, you mentioned the goalies not having to do a whole lot sometimes. Well, let's talk with a special guest in our booth, the goalie who sometimes has to do some work in between the sticks for Sporting Kansas City. We're joined by Tim Melia. Tim, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Love to have you on. Thanks for joining us. And what do you make of that first half of play from the Swope Park Rangers, this new USL team?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was organized. I missed about the first 10 minutes, but I came in and I saw they had a lot of opportunities on goal. They seemed to have possession for majority of the half. And then I just saw Kempen's huge save with his foot. And that's got to be a huge confidence booster for the rest of the game.
And Tim, you're a guy that is familiar with USL, of course, a Rochester Rhinos legend. What does it mean for the players getting this experience playing a game like this as Oliveira drives in towards the box, trying to set it up for Tierpak? Get back to that question with Tim as Jimmy Mulligan has a fire from his right back spot straight at the throat of Wade Hamilton.
I think it's really important to have the opportunity to play in USL, then also one that's so closely affiliated with an MLS team means the world of difference. These guys are looked at every day, and if they're doing well down here, the first step is, they're getting pulled up. And that's the opportunity that I didn't have playing in Rochester. Rochester was a really good club, and it was, I thought, a really good stepping stone. But for these guys to be so closely monitored by Peter and the rest of the first staff team is just an enormous opportunity.
We just saw John Kempen make a really crucial save to keep this
huge
game at 1-0. Did you think that one stayed out, or was it goal line technology?
We were right in the corner, nowhere near over the line. It was a huge save, and then for him to get up and react with his foot, even bigger save. Like I said, it's just a confidence booster for the team to know that he's back there. He's going to make those type of saves throughout the season, and I think this team, with the talent they have, they're going to have a lot of good things this year.
And Tim, we know that you guys haven't necessarily been training with the Swope Park Rangers as we take a look at the save from John Kempen.
Huge.
Awesome save, awesome save. But in preseason, you guys did train on adjacent fields next to one another. I'm sure you had some wandering eyes to take a look at some of the players here. Who has stood out to you, and in maybe the training sessions or games that you have watched from the Swope Park Rangers?
I've had some experience with Chris Tierpak. He got drafted to Chivas. I think his ceiling is very high. He's technical. He's fast. He likes to get at players. He's always impressed me. Tommy is another guy. I mean, his experience speaks for himself in the back. He's played so many games for LA, a lot of important games. And then I don't know his real name, but the Danny Alves lookalike. he looks like a good player, and he seems to be getting after it down the wing there.
There's a cross floated in towards the back post by
Dos
Dane
Santos
Kelly.
praying there for someone to be crashing that back post. You see the frustration from Mark Dos Santos. A great job from Dane Kelly as he tries to be the deliverer of the service in that regard. Jimmy Medranda making the run, just not there in time.
See the reaction there from Mark Dos Santos as Nick Beasler was alert and headed it behind for a corner. And it's the goal scorer Oliveira who would take towards the near post, doesn't beat the first man. Disappointing service from
Jimmy's going to
youngster.
electrify this league too. I think he's going to be huge.
Yeah, I spoke about that a little bit on a couple occasions in the first half. You've played with him. You've played with him on the back line. You've played with him as a midfielder, and you play with him as a winger. Here, just like his natural position, as we see.
The second mega
Here he
game.
goes, and he floats it towards the back post. Good work from Medranda. Just couldn't find the final pass. And the Rangers will reload. Big sweeping diagonal. Medranda with the attempt at
Well,
a
that
fancy
wasn't his
take.
best moment, but we've seen what he can do so far in this matchup.
And Tim, finally, just before we let you go, what are you expecting from this USL team this year in their first season?
I'm expecting big things. I mean, I have the opportunity. I think they play 2 games or one more here.
Yep.
They got to try to create a fortress here, and then the same thing at Swope. I think the most important thing is to try to enable the same type of aspect we do with the home games, is that we want to make these stadiums and these fields our fortresses. These guys have the talent to do it. This is a very, very talented USL team, and I think moving through the league, they're going to have a really good season.
Mark Dos Santos talking to us about building a winning mentality, and is that important at the USL level if you do want to try and make it forward into MLS?
Of course, you're winning games, and you start getting people to recognize you, and once you get the right person to recognize you, and it just flourishes from there. And all these guys are fully capable of playing at the next level. They're all very good players, and they just need to get the opportunity at the right time.
Of course, they're playing at a pretty high level right now, as well as Swope Park Rangers leading 1-0. And Tim Melia joined us in the booth. And we appreciate you for joining us, Tim.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the game.
We'll take a look here at the recap of this second half action. It was Dane Kelly felled in the box, and Kevin Oliveira, the man at the spot, stepped up and gave his team the lead, and here he is again on the ball. Edge of the box, he'll fire towards the far post, perhaps a deflection, no. Just a sidewinding effort, out of bounds, too tall. We have a down player for the Portland Timbers.
Actually, the parry by the fan in the front row as that ball looked to be going towards his significant other's face. Great job of parrying this one away as we see the challenge here. A wayward arm up in the air. Sends him to the ground.
It's a tough landing.
He actually
there.
appears to be holding his hip as that seems to be the part that's bothering him. He did land kind of awkwardly on his side.
Looks like Marco Farfan.
Did Farfan and being tended to now.
It's a tough landing for the youngster who's shown pretty well here in his left back spot. Swope Park Rangers. Looks, Jake, like they're ready to make a change here as Tyler Pasher getting ready to check in on the sideline. And I know that Pasher is a guy that Mark Dos Santos really rates highly. And here he comes. Hear the PA announcer make the substitution notice. It'll be Chris Tierpak making way for Tyler Pasher. And Jake, what'd you make of Chris Tierpak's first action as a Swope Park Ranger?
Well, you can definitely see he's upset coming out of the game, but I know it's because he wants to play the full 90 minutes, but I don't think it has anything to do with his performance. I think Chris Tierpak did a fantastic job. You heard me talk about him in the first half. You just heard Tim Melia talk about him, about the time that he had spent with him at Chivas USA. Very good job, very comfortable on the ball. You can see just how dangerous he is going to be, not just by himself, but also when partnered with Dane Kelly and Jimmy Madronda up top. And also, looks like we are getting ready to have a substitution as well for the Timbers, as it does not appear as though Farfan's going to be able to continue. Had to get help to the bench from the training staff, so there will be a substitution for the Timbers too due to injury.
We certainly wish the best for the young left back, as Madronda cutting inside has it stolen away by Lewis. Jimmy Mulligan with a nice little hesitation move to lose his defender. Now Walefi in for Oliveira. Back wide with Granito. Granito now with a whipped-in cross right at the 6. Required some attending to, and Michael Gallagher was able to clear, and now a rough challenge in midfield. Looked like Dylan Damraoui with the one, committing the foul on Kelvin Oliveira.
And that's the second time in this game that Damraoui's come in with just a very, very reckless challenge. I'm surprised that one has not resulted in a yellow card.
Here's a sub for the aforementioned Marco Farfan. We saw 95 on the board going out, which means 89 checking in. Not on our rosters here, but nonetheless, there'll be a free kick opportunity, and it'll be Pasher just checking into the game to set up some sort of set piece for the Rangers. And not sure that went to plan, as Christian Duke has it charged down, and now it's a 2-on-2 break. A header taking Lewis wide towards the sideline. Lewis now trying to get it across, and it's good tracking back from Pasher to force an errant pass into the hands of John Kempen. Get into the game through the USL's social media channels. Follow the USL on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram for news, live game updates, and video highlights from across the league. Dane Kelly fighting for possession on the center circle. Still fighting, beating two defenders. Still going, Dane Kelly. Some nice work from the front man for the Rangers.
And we talked about his speed on numerous occasions. This is a perfect example of the strength that Dane Kelly brings. Trying to be shouldered off the ball by two separate Timbers players.
Look at that cheeky back heel from Jimmy Madronda. Granito just can't quite get there. So as Nick Beasler tracking the run, expertly so, to prevent Granito bearing down on goal. Mulligan along the sidelines looking for some sort of player to show, and he actually gets a nice post up from Dane Kelly. Does well to control and then switch the field of play. Duke on the overlap, now back with Pasher. Oliveira, scoop attempt, but he'll get it back. Just hoofed forward by the Timbers defense. Tommy Meyer can get things restarted here in the 66th minute. So 1-0 lead to the home side, Swope Park Rangers. Ball's over the top and out of play for Oliveira, as Hamilton is quick off his line. Jake, the sub for the Rangers, Tyler Pasher, an interesting story. Mark Dos Santos telling us he was out of contract and looking for a club, and the Rangers brought him in for a trial. He was working construction at the time and literally left the construction site to come to the trial for the Swope Park Rangers.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's the story, at least right now, has a happy ending. You can only hope, for a player like Pasher that it can only continue to grow and he can become a much better player in USL, and maybe that could lead to some opportunities in Major League Soccer. But that's what's great about the USL is you're going to have some of these just great human interest stories with some of these players, because before USL and before NASL, if you weren't in that top flight of soccer in the United States, you didn't have any other options.
That's really good work from Jimmy Madronda on the defensive end, and then he pulls up lame after trying to uncork an outside of the foot pass for Dane Kelly. That's worrying signs for Mark Dos Santos as 94 hits the turf.
Well, and especially as he just made a sub for one of his wingers. We mentioned that sub for Pasher coming on for Chris Tierpak. If this is an injury for Jimmy Madronda, that would force him. It looks like it is just a cramp for the time being in that calf, but if it does act up, then you'll have to use another substitute on your winger. And here we go, Jimmy Madronda showing what he can do. Great job of going in, not going in too rough, working his way through there to get the ball, and then pops right back up. And I know it sounds like a broken record, but these are some of the things that people like myself have been saying on the Sporting Kansas City broadcast for years now. You see the flashes of what Jimmy Madronda can do. It's just not been there on a consistent basis, and that's what I think that this time for the Rangers is going to prove to be so beneficial for his player development.
Madronda trying to walk this one off. Definitely keep an eye out on if he's able to continue or not. You get a little shake of the head there. That doesn't look promising. Meanwhile, it'll be a throw-in for the Rangers as they return possession to the Portland Timbers.
And it looks as though Nansel Selbol getting some final instruction, as though he'll be coming on this matchup. Whether or not it is for Jimmy Madronda, we still don't know, but I imagine that that's what it's going to be, as Madronda keeps talking with the training staff. And yes, down there at midfield, he just kind of gave a shake of the head to the trainers. It doesn't look as though Jimmy Madronda is going to be coming back in this matchup. Selbol will be coming in.
Here's Ben Polk charging towards this near sideline, whips in a nice cross, and now the rebound is blocked, unnecessarily so, from Tyler Pasher. Flicked header attempt, cleared away by Tommy Meyer, but only as far as Lewis.
And there you see, if there's only one thing that maybe will be a little critical about in terms of John Kempen's game, it is when those crosses and those corners come into the box. He needs to be more assertive. He needs to command that area. In that instance, doesn't basically barrel through players, which as a goalkeeper, that is what you are taught to do. As this ball comes in, you see he kind of takes some players out, but he doesn't time his jump right and is barely able to get a hand on that. You want him to time that perfectly, get a good solid punch on that, send that ball 30, 40 yards out, or get a grab to him.
So that's confirmation of the end of Jimmy Madronda's night, as he's forced to withdraw due to some sort of injury. Certainly wish the best for him, as he did show plenty of signs of promise here in this first Swope Park Rangers game. He's replaced, as Jake mentioned, by Nansel Selbol. Now Viljan Bijev with a mishit pass. Andre Lewis starting to get into the game more and more for Timbers too. Now a nice bit of play with Taylor Pay. This dribbling attempt is blocked at first, and Lewis will pass it back with Anthony Manning. 70 minutes gone here, still 1-0. Swope Park Rangers trying to see out the remainder of this game, win their first ever match. Timbers too, trying to build on some possession here, as Lowe passes it back for Manning. And Jimmy Mulligan will play it back with John Kempen. Kempen's long clearing attempt up towards Dane Kelly. Does good again. Good work there to draw the foul as he was posting up on Anthony Manning. Take a look here at Walefi standing over this one. Playing that holding midfield role. Mark Dos Santos really rates him as a number 6 back there. Really said he needed a cultured player on the ball in that position, so he went out, got the former Corinthians youth prospect.
Well, and one thing we've seen just from the years of Sporting Kansas City running this 4-3-3 system, and now the Swope Park Rangers doing the same thing, just how important having someone stable at that position is. We saw it with Julio Cesar, we saw it with Yuri Rosell, and now we're seeing it with Sony Mustavar. With the demands of this system, as we see another foul just outside the box this time on Dane Kelly. But as we've seen with this system, having that steady presence in front of the back four is so critical, and I think Dos Santos absolutely got it right with Walefi.
And speaking of absolutely getting it right, the referee gets that call correct. Dane Kelly doing well to shield a defender. He's really growing in stature in this second half. Earned a penalty and now earns a very dangerous free kick, about even with the 6-yard box on the far side. Oliveira standing over this one. Goes for the far post, and have to say that's a bit of a waste on a really dangerous set piece opportunity. Now we have a double substitution for the Portland Timbers 2. You could say a 2 Timbers substitution. Jake didn't like that one as much as I did, but we move on as checking into the game. Checking into the game for the Timbers, number 30, Carlton Bowen, and number 84, Seth Kasipel. I apologize for not being on the ball here on these rosters, but they don't have us the right numbers.
That always makes it fun, doesn't it?
Makes it a little difficult. Sliding challenge there from Christian Duke, and it falls to Tyler Pasher, who tries to do a 1-2 with Oliveira. Well cut out by Taylor Pay. So that's all the subs gone for the visiting Timbers 2. 2 subs used by the Rangers with 15 minutes to go in regular time. It's a nice pass from Kelly to find Selbel, and he'll try and get on the ball for the first time. Kelly just trying a little chop move and doesn't come off. The Timbers can build from the back. Keep up to date with the USL all season long by visiting the new USLsoccer.com for everything you need to know about the USL. Mulligan unable to keep that one in play, and it'll be a throw-in along the near sideline for Portland. And Jake, where the Portland Timbers going to find an equalizer here in the second half as they trail 1-0 and trail in shots 12-3.
Well, and you have to be wondering, where's it going to come from? We really haven't seen much of a threat from the Timbers 2 during the run of play. We really haven't seen it in terms of set pieces. I imagine Andrew Greger's just got to be kind of scratching his head right now in terms of what do we have to do as a team to create more of these opportunities. Only 3 shots so far, and only 1 that has tested John Kempen. Now, granted, he needed a fantastic save to keep it out of the back of the net, but they've just been very stagnant. And they have looked better ever since going down a goal, because, yes, you do have to open it up a little bit, but you can't help but wonder, you know, what may have been had they tried to be a little bit more aggressive from the start. Now, I know that was kind of the big knock on them last year in their first year is they were maybe a little over aggressive, and that led to a lot of counterattacks and a lot of defenders out of position. But you know, you don't want to be asking yourself, you know, too many questions if you go down to lose this game. But right now, I think that's where the Timbers 2 stand.
And of course, Swope Park Rangers have had plenty to do with that uncomfortableness in the back. So that's a good little touch away from Andre Lewis, and he gets the return. He'll try and send in a cross from the right wing. It's cleared momentarily, and then referee's going to let it play on. Looked like he was going to signal for the handball, but let's play continue. Nansel Selbel drop it back to his right back, Jimmy Mulligan. Here's Selbel again. Top scorer for the U18s last season was Selbel. And a poor pass from Granito. And that's a fancy outside of the boot pass from Portland to release player into the box. And you hear the chance there as Nico Brett found himself in a really good position. That had to be one of the better opportunities for Portland Timbers 2 all game long.
And the reaction there from Gregor kind of tells the whole story. If anything, this game has shown that the opportunities for the Timbers 2 are going to be few and far between, but when they get them, they have to make the best of them. And you see there, as the ball is played across, Nico Brett not over the top of it, leaning way back, and sends that one 15, 20 yards high and wide to the right of the goal. And the members of the Cauldron certainly letting him know how they felt about that opportunity.
Sorry, Jake, I have to correct you. Members of the Zoo, as that is what the cheering section for Swope Park Rangers will be called this season, of course.
I'm not gonna lie, that's the first time I've heard that.
We need to follow him on Twitter. For a good follow, as Selbel does well to hesitate and move past the defender. Trying to carve out space for a pass, and Oliveira just under a little bit too much pressure. A little reverse pass there from Walefi.
Wondering why our producer was just screaming the zoo in my ear.
It's often a zoo in the truck, but guys are doing well tonight, Jack Hockman and crew. We move close into the 80th minute, just 10 minutes plus a little bit of stoppage time to go here at Children's Mercy Park. Swope Park Rangers holding on to that 1-0 lead. Granito intercepts well. Now waiting for the overlap from Pasher, and he gets it. Pasher now charging in, finds Kelly. Kelly now at the top of the box, has it deflected away. Falls to the Granito. He'll have a go, and it's blocked out of bounds. And I think Granito there thought he caught everything with that hit. Disappointed to see it blocked out for a corner.
And if any other, coaching staffs around the USL are watching this game, one of the things they at least have to be worried about in terms of facing the Rangers is we've seen how many players now come away with quality shots that could potentially be threatening. So you have 5 or 6 guys that you have to worry about on this roster.
Selbel now taking the corner. He'll take an outswinger right on the penalty spot. It's a powerful header away by Anthony Manning. And you hear a little bit of howls from the crowd as the newly installed Skycam here at Children's Mercy Park just ducking out of the way of that high clearance. And now the ball over the top for Belmar to chase. It's a good tackle from Van Compernol to snuff out that danger. And now Walefi moving forward. We just got word from the GM of Swope Park Rangers that the attendance tonight just under 7,000. Not a bad figure here.
Solid. That's a great turnout here at Children's Mercy Park. If you get 7,000 people here for a USL game, I can only not only the first USL game, but going up against the Kansas Jayhawks in the Elite Eight, I can only imagine what kind of atmosphere it is going to be when this team starts playing in their natural home down at the Swope Soccer Village. It's going to be fantastic.
It's a fantastic pitch they have at the Children's Mercy Victory Field at Swope Soccer Village. And And certainly, Jake, you're right. If
which
they
is
can continue to get 7,000 fans at those type of games, it'll be quite the atmosphere.
Which is right by the Kansas City Zoo, which is where the Swope Park Rangers supporters group got their name.
That's right.
The Zoo.
As we've learned.
I don't know if you knew that.
And now Selbel trying to cause a ruckus. Does well to find the overlapping run of Granito, but his cross is dealt with, and the Timbers clear. And as you can see, I'd like to remind you to check out that next Swope Park Rangers home match, which is at the Swope Soccer Village on Wednesday, April 27th to 7 p.m. Wednesday night kickoff against Vancouver Whitecaps 2. It'll be the first game out at Swope Soccer Village for this new team, so it'll be a season of firsts.
Yeah, it's kind of like a kind of a re-coronation. You know, tonight the first ever game, which through 83 minutes has gone in the way of the Rangers, and now you potentially get to do that again here, April 27th, when you do the same thing for the first time at the Swope Soccer Village. So another opportunity for the fans to be a part of history.
Here's Carlton Belmar giving chase for the Timbers too. I wanted to say his name again because I'm sure I butchered it when he came in as a sub. Now Ben Polk trying to find the cutting Lewis. His pass goes astray. And Jake, Ben Polk is a newly acquired member of the Timbers organization. He was a first-round pick in the 2016 MLS Super Draft. He's actually familiar with this venue as he came here for the College Cup with the Syracuse Orange.
Yeah, we got the opportunity to see him up and close, being as this is our office Monday through Friday most of the time. So we got a chance to really see some of those young players up close and kind of the futures that they bring. Notably highlighted by Jordan Morris when he was here and during that tournament with Stanford and what he did, and Polk kind of bringing the same sort of thing. You know, maybe this run with the Timbers too can kind of be that jumping off point for him to possibly break through for the first team. They obviously used a draft pick on him, so they think highly of what he can do and how this will affect his future as a soccer player.
One of the standout performers at that College Cup. Ball out of bounds for a throw-in for the Rangers on the far side. Look at that flick pass by Pasher. Kelly trying to cut around the defender, but maybe just cut himself a few too many times. And that will be the pause needed to bring on the last substitute of the game. And this is a player I think many Sporting KC fans are excited to see in action finally, as Daniel Shaloi comes in, Shaloi I should say, for Tomas Granito.
Yeah, and I think this is the Swope Park Rangers, I think, are the perfect example of what this club wants to do with some of its younger players. When you speak of a player like Daniel Shaloi, he's here on the homegrown player contract, not really needed. I mean, but definitely validated having a roster spot for Sporting Kansas City, but once again, a player that's not going to really break through for the first team. You don't think so much in this year, backing up Dom Dwyer, backing up Diego Rubio, and this is the perfect place for him to go and get solid minutes and just keep playing regularly. If you're just going to be training every day and not playing games, that's not going to be very productive for the player. But here, with the Rangers, he can get a lot of time, a lot of minutes, and grow his game from a competitive standpoint. He's one of the players that in the preseason I got maybe the most questions about when people were asking about Sporting Kansas City. And I told people that I look at his development like a Yuri Rosell. He's totally a different player, different position. I get that. But maybe give him a year of full training, some reserve games in this system to really get a feel for things before he breaks out. He's not going to make an immediate impact. He's a guy that you sign and you stash and you hope that one of these days in the future he becomes your first-team player.
It's quite the impressive take from Dane Kelly off the chest. He's carved out an opportunity for Tyler Pasher, who fires meekly at the feet of Wade Hamilton. Another show of strength there from the number 9. Well, number 9 position, number 99 on his jersey, Dane Kelly. Now here's a chance for Carlton Belmar, Rookie of the Year last season in the USL. Just starting the season on the bench for the Timbers too this season. It's marshaled well in the back by the combination of Mulligan and Pasher. And now Shallowy will have to make his first contribution on the defensive end. Doesn't stand up well, as it was good work from Taylor Pay to get around the Hungarian-born youngster and earn his side a corner kick here in the 87th, ticking over into the 88th minute. Perhaps a golden opportunity for the Timbers too. Up towards the 6 and headed clear by Christian Duke. And that'll allow the Rangers to push out, reset their defensive lines. Hopeful ball floated towards the near sideline, and Jimmy Mulligan does well again. He's had a solid match, the low knee from New York Cosmos. Now Andre Lewis looking over the top, perhaps a bit too hopeful. As John Kempen will claim that and take all the allotted time he gets to punt it upfield. Take a look here as we mentioned that home game against Vancouver Whitecaps 2 on the 27th, but it's coming off the back of a 3-game road trip down in the Texas and Oklahoma Panhandle there.
And especially that game on April 23rd at Oklahoma City, going up against the legend himself, the White Puma, Jimmy Nielsen, and Oklahoma City, who themselves last year in their second season as a USL club made tremendous strides. Much better team in 2015 than they were in 2014. Now, granted, some of the players that were on that team with the Rangers.
There's Dane Kelly trying to get in behind, and referee waves play to continue. Perhaps just a tangling of the feet there, as Dane Kelly did look to have the step on the retreating Anthony Manning, a let-off for the Portland Timbers. Foul, and immediately restarted with Nick Beasler. Back in midfield, lofted pass attempt from Kasipel. It's intercepted, and Seth Kasipel will get back on the ball now. This pass again intercepted, this time by Pasher, and Pasher try and knock it around and beat Polk for pace, and he does. You can see the turn of pace there from 77. Pasher, some clever footwork, still on the ball here, going against 2 Portland defenders, and he earns a throw in deep in the Portland half, and you can hear the appreciation from this crowd at Children's Mercy Park.
And as that ball goes out of bounds, he immediately bends over to get a breather. Doing a tremendous job here, showing the effort. Pasher, full sprint, 40, 50 yards to gather that ball, get control, and do enough with it, trying to take on 2 defenders. Loses possession, but still keeps it for the Rangers. A great, just individual effort from Pasher.
You see the substitution there as Mark Anthony Gonzalez checks in for Dane Kelly, and we've just received word that there's 5 minutes of stoppage time. Of course, I misspoke earlier saying the subs were all gone, as in USL, you're allowed 5 substitutions. Apologies for that misinformation, and that's the clear reason why Mark Anthony Gonzalez can make his debut.
We are all learning together.
All in together now. As Oliveira and Pasher will stand over this, and that's a clever bit of play, but Oliveira just hit straight offside.
Yeah, some great play there, just kind of ruined by Oliveira. He's got to do better than that in that situation. As this ball's played through, you know, he's got to know, he's got to check up. You see he tries there at the very end, but just kills at what looked like or was surefire going to be a golden opportunity for the Rangers just by trying to get a little greedy.
It's a punt upfield. Shallowy trying to regain possession, but he's outdueled by Taylor Pay. And the pass from Beasler just behind Pay, who was making a really nice run. Had Beasler found him, there would have been plenty of opportunity. Mark Anthony Gonzalez racing in, looking at the offside flag. It stays down. Fires it in the middle. It's a fantastic finish. It's Daniel Shallowy. And it's 2-0 Swope Park Rangers. That'll surely be a victory in the first ever match for SPR.
And I mentioned earlier that I got maybe more questions about Daniel Shallowy from fans than any other player in terms of the Sporting Kansas City preseason, and I told people it's a guy that you gotta wait and see what you have, but the ability is there, and he shows it here. First off, a lot of credit on the build-up here. Not only does he start that pass, great run from Mark Anthony Gonzalez to pick up his head and play this cross, and look at that finish. There's certain instincts and certain qualities that you can't just teach a player. And Shallowy with a perfect example there, one touch with the right foot on the outside to send that one near post off of kind of a half volley bouncing pass. Phenomenal finish.
Daniel Shallowy, you could see it there as Jake was talking about. What a fantastic finish. The ball underneath him, and he manages to direct it first time past Wade Hamilton. And this 2-0 lead will surely be enough for 3 points in the first ever game for the Swope Park Rangers, as the 5th substitution now being made. Amir Dijic checking in for Walefi, and you can see here outside of the boot pass, inside of the inset finish.
That's a tremendous goal. That's just a fantastic team goal. Great job from Mark Anthony Gonzalez to stay onside. That gives him a ton of space to work with, beating the offside trap, has that time to pick his head up, see who's making the runs and to where. And Daniel Shallowy making that just to the side of the penalty spot. Great delivery, great finish. There's really nothing else you can say about it.
The 2 substitutes making an impact for Coach Mark Dos Santos. We've talked a lot about Daniel Shallowy, but Mark Anthony Gonzalez for this SPR team was fantastic in preseason as he led the team in goals. It's a good move from Carlton Belmar. Gets around a defender, now squares it right across the face of goal, and that's a Beasler goal at Children's Mercy Park, but it's Nick Beasler, and it's for the visitors. And hold on a second here, it's 2-1.
Yeah, this game not quite over. Credit to Timbers too, not giving up after that second goal. And you see just too much space. Nobody tracking that run of Beasler from midfield, and that's an easy pass and an easy finish. We talked about kind of the phenomenal build-up and the phenomenal finish of the Swope Park Rangers goal. That one's about as easy as it gets for Timbers too, and they're still in this with just a minute or so left in this matchup.
Again, it was 5 minutes added on at the end of this second half, and we're deep into that added time now. Rangers handed a lifeline by outstanding play along the wing from last season's Rookie of the Year, Carlton Belmar. Here he is again. Slip pass in for Polk. He'll fire it across. Duke trying to deal with it, doesn't do so well at the beginning, and it's John Kempin falling on the ball. Nervy moments here at the end of the match for the Swope Park Rangers.
You see here the dying moments providing some entertainment, keeping fans on the edge of their seats, but the Rangers hang on.
Swope Park Rangers hang on in their first ever match as a nervy ending provided by some outstanding play from Portland was not enough to overcome the 2-goal lead Swope Park Rangers had cut out. 2-1 is the final score here. The Rangers coming away victorious in their first game.
Well, you certainly want to be happy on such a great evening to have your first game as first competitive game as a club in such a great venue as Children's Mercy Park, and to come away with the full 3 points. is something to be very, very excited about. The way they played, you see the promise that this Rangers team can provide, but they've got to clean it up. It looked like they thought they were clear those last couple minutes. Credit to the Timbers for doing what they can to stick to it.
Perhaps we thought they were a little too clear as well here in the booth. But the man who gave them the lead and scored the first ever goal in club history, Kevin Oliveira, is your Courtyard Overland Park Metcalf man of the match tonight. Fantastic showing from the youngster, former Benfica B youth player. And he did well tonight, was all over the place, stepped up to coolly slot home the penalty. And it was an all-important penalty that saw Swope Park Rangers get that lead early on in the second half, as we saw plenty of pressure in the first half not pay off, but it was Oliveira to step up and give them the lead.
Well, and we talked about Kelly and Tierpak and Madronda, and rightfully so, because they were the guys, creating those opportunities so close in the first half, but you got to give a lot of love to the guys in the midfield. Oliveira did a fantastic job in terms of his service. Some great diagonal balls over the top to Tierpak that created some opportunities, and it's that partnership in the midfield that is going to give the guys up top so much freedom. So as long as Oliveira can bring the sort of game that he brought this evening, that's only going to mean wonders for the three guys up top, and Madronda, Kelly, and Chris Tierpak.
Daniel Shallowy signing some autographs for the fans here in attendance. So he scored the second and wound up being the game winner. As we'll take a look back at today's match highlights, it was Dane Kelly charging in on goal. A burst of speed earned his team a penalty, and Oliveira finishes with aplomb.
And as we said at the time, I think that was, you just had a big weight had to be lifted off their shoulders as they were threatening the goal all evening long and just couldn't put it away, but they were able to do so there.
And it was an immediate reply from Portland Timbers too, who hadn't tested Kempin all game long, but the first ever homegrown signing for Sporting Kansas City stepped up and came through with a huge double save to keep the lead at 1-0, and that provided crucial because towards the end of the second half, it was a good move from Swope Park Rangers. Shallowy to Mark Anthony Gonzalez, back to Shallowy for the game-winning goal.
And what a fantastic goal. I mean, I don't really know what else we could say about it that hasn't been said. From start to finish, just a phenomenal show of flashiness from the Rangers.
And then Portland taking back a lifeline with a late goal from Nick Beasler. There was great work along the sideline from Carlton Belmar, but not enough to claim anything here at Children's Mercy Park, as Swope Park Rangers win their first ever game. And they'll have their first ever game at Swope Soccer Village in a few weeks' time, as Wednesday, April 27th. You need to make sure you get out there. It'll be quite the hoopla, as they'll take on the Vancouver Whitecaps 2 at 7 p.m. Well, it's been a fun broadcast here. For Jake Yodrich, I'm Carter Augustine. Thanks for joining us here in this first ever game for the Swope Park Rangers. And boy, did it come through and live up to the hype, as they were able to ride the raucous crowd of 7,000 at Children's Mercy Park and win the first match in Swope Park Rangers history. 2-1, final score. We're clear?